Mr. Chairman, I'm here to sort of apprise you of where we stand with the Heritage Commission and the combination of the Commission, the Historic District, and the Monuments Committee. We are adopting a rules of procedure based on the Heritage Commission rules and based on the Monuments rules that were proposed. Christina Donovan is preparing those. I expected to see them today, but we'll see them again soon, I am gathering. And we have a couple of vacancies still. Larry Cody is going to apply. I don't know if his application came in yet or not.
Okay.
I have reached out to someone to be an alternate, as a citizen alternate, not as a board alternate. And we're looking for one more person who actually lives in the district. But we will probably have more members than what the Heritage Commission statute says, because we have combined the three activities. They will not technically be Heritage Commission people, but they'll be members of the other two groups because we will meet together. Normally, or historically, although in the past 5 years it hasn't happened, we meet every other month. But it looks like we're going to at least meet monthly because there are a lot of things that are still left undone. And I want to call your attention to a letter from the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, which was addressed to the Heritage Commission, talking about the resurfacing project that we have been talking about ad infinitum here. But the letter came to the Heritage Commission, and I will quickly read it. It's not very long. The proposed resurfacing project consists of one section, and they number the section in the town of Newport. The project would improve 1.4 miles of multiple tier 2 highways. The section would be resurfaced via 2 inches of full-width, high-strength inlay. Sidewalk curb ramps would be upgraded to meet ADA standards within the downtown historic district. Drainage and guardrail would be assessed in the field, and any deficiencies would be addressed. And they go on to talk about engineering studies. And the question was, are there any cultural resources of significance in the vicinity of the project, i.e. stone walls, cemeteries, historical or archaeological resources? Please note that Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act offers those that possess a direct interest in historic resources, including town officials, historical societies, and historic commissions, an opportunity to become more involved in an advisory role during the project development as, quote, consulting parties. Those interests should contact the department. The tentative advertisement date for this special project is September 6, 2022. So when I got to that place in the letter, I thought, that must be a typo. He must have meant that Dylan Schmidt must have meant that the project start advertisement date is September 6, 2023, because I was reading it like this with my thumb on the date. This letter was sent to us June 28, 2022, and I received it last week. From the Planning and Zoning Office. Oh, I'm wondering where it's been for a year.
You got it quicker than the original request.
Yeah, I know. I didn't have to do that. So I
have no answer to that.
I know you don't. Not one of you has an answer
Yeah.
to that. I don't expect it. It was
Yeah.
sort of a rhetorical question. However, we are going to respond to this letter as a commission because we did opine about the project. You did hear what we suggested. We talked about the fact that those ugly green signs have to come out of the district.
Yeah.
And that we supported the notion of the parking study committee around the spaces and the crosswalk. So I will, on behalf of the commission, I will write a letter to them telling them what we talked about.
Good.
and what we did, but this doesn't make me happy, and it better not happen again. And I don't know where it goes. To the mailroom, maybe? They couldn't figure out what to do with the letter. You know, it's water over the dam now, but it really is unfortunate.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And hopefully, I guess it's not too late, because I don't know what the update is on the project. I know after it was presented to you, there was going to be a discussion, and I don't know what you discussed, and it would be helpful to know that before I write this letter.
Betty, we're actually discussing it tonight in non-public.
Oh, well, then that'll be a bit of a problem, because you'll have to let me know.
Well,
As the board representative to that commission, I can,
good. Thank you, Jim.
we'll take care of it.
Okay.
I'll speak with you tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Okay.
And then we'll be prepared to do that.
Yeah.
So that's part one. Part two is, as you know, one of our duties is to do the inventory. And this is the inventory. It was done in 1984. So it's time to do it again. It's also tied into the master plan. Interestingly enough, you're just doing that survey about the new master plan. I think there has been a master plan since '84, but I don't recall the dates. Do you know
Yeah.
what the latest one is, what year we're looking at?
About 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
So I would like a copy of that,
Of the master plan?
of the master plan, because this ties directly into the master plan. And we also would probably need you to appropriate funding to do this inventory. I believe it was done by the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Council,
Yeah.
because it's
They have done a lot of it.
right, because it's part of our contract with them, but I suspect it's an extra fee.
Quite an extra.
Yeah, so as you get going with the new master plan,
Yeah.
this has to be part of it. This inventory has to be part
Okay,
of
good.
it.
Biddy, this board is not in charge of the master plan.
Right,
It's the planning board.
right.
And
Well, we can see the sheets.
we can see, I mean, we'll make sure you get a copy. That's easy.
Those are available in the planning office.
Yeah,
any day of the
yeah,
week.
you can, that's easy
Great.
to do.
I can pop in
Should
and
be
get
on
one.
the, should be on the town's website
Yeah.
as well.
And
So-
we're working, like, I'm working on the part with the Conservation Committee for the natural resources inventory. So we're moving ahead with that. So, you know, there's work being done, and I appreciate you and your diligence in bringing this forth.
So should I go to the zoning board and tell them they need to spend some money,
Planning.
or
Planning.
planning board, rather?
I'll make sure I watch that on TV.
Okay. I mean, you may not be the people who are responsible for doing it, but
Well,
you
we
do,
ultimately...
you
yeah,
control the purse, so
correct.
Be apprised that this all has to be part of it, and then the commission will
Yeah.
work with whoever to.
And
to
I would
do
urge you
that.
to maybe look beyond the scope of Upper Valley. They're quite expensive, although they're there and they do a good job. So,
Well, so my question then turns around to you. I thought that they worked for us as part of our membership. Is that not
they
true?
do, but that would be an extra fee.
Okay, so it wouldn't violate our membership if
No.
this were put out to bid for somebody to do
Right.
the inventory?
Yeah, and we did that we put it out to bid on the Conservation Commission.
Okay, so, and who would do that? The planning board? Who would write the bid specs?
I think that's a good question for them. to do
Okay.
that.
And
Yeah.
which one
We
of
wrote
them is
our
on the
own-
planning board? Okay,
Yeah. We wrote our own specs for the NRI. And it's working.
well, and I'm certainly capable of
Yeah.
doing that, but I want to make sure
Very
I go
capable,
through the right
yeah.
channels.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
So,
Bert has a question.
okay. You need to be quick on your feet, because the survey has been pretty much finalized, and that will meld in, and the planning board decided not to do it through Upper Valley.
Oh,
They
that's
do it-
fine.
They're
But-
doing it themselves, I understand.
That's the town's plan, but this is tied into it? This
So,
inventory's tied
Yeah,
into it?
It will not, planning, it would be my understanding, Bert,
Yeah.
that it would not be a finished product until that was included in it, until our aspect was included in it. So
But it not being mentioned up to this point, it may have been overlooked.
I bet it was.
Now's the time
Yeah.
to jump in.
I bet
Right,
it was.
and
Good.
I'll, when's your next meeting, Jeff?
I believe it's the 13th. It'll be my first one. So
Okay. I can, 6:30?
6:30.
They usually are, right?
6.
6, perfect. I
I'm
will,
getting up to speed on all this. So
okay, so I'll come on
Good.
the,
Always fashionably late.
yeah, and if you could put that on the agenda, then I'll come to that meeting
Okay.
and apprise the planning board.
Talk to Christina.
Okay.
Yeah, she should know that.
And if
Jeff North, you had a question, or?
yeah, that, the risk of sounding, I don't know what's going on here. Can you explain to me what inventory means?
Oh, sure.
As I'm learning this, I do have some questions.
So this is a Bible, if you will, of every historic property in the town of Newport, and
That's what I
it's
assumed.
and its construction and status and age and roof material and yada yada yada.
In the
And-
historic district.
in the historic district, and also some of it in other parts of the town, but some of these have been put on the historic register. Most of them are eligible, but they might not have applied, so it would be something to also consider if people wanted to put their property on the historic register. And then we'll have a discussion about moving the district to encompass the downtown and at least getting to the bridge, the other side of the bridge, or maybe the other side of your building, or down to the traffic light, because of the historic structures that are in the central core.
Good idea.
That's a town thing, that's a vote of the legislative body. It's not something that we can unilaterally do. But we should take a look at that as we're updating it, and while we're looking at all this stuff.
Worthwhile.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
it helps to preserve
Yeah.
and also to support,
Good.
the town.
Jeff?
Yeah, master plan dates from 2012.
That was the latest one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can be downloaded from the planning and zoning section of the website.
It can be, but I prefer a
Just
paper
go see.
copy from you.
Yeah, just go see.
But
We'll
I'll
make
talk-
sure you get one.
I'll talk to Christina.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not sure I've ever seen a paper copy, but.
Oh, I-
maybe.
I used to
Yeah.
have one.
I have-
I used to have one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Biddy. Status report, tax sale, 69 Chandler Mills Road. Map 234, lot 020.
So Paul is, there he is. Paul is handling our tax sale property, so he's here to give you an update on that.
Okay.
So we took the property on March 6th, 7th? 6th. When we noticed so we took 3 properties. We noticed 2 of the previous owners. One the owners had walked away and legally walked away. But those notices were sent on April 25th. Under state law, we need to give a 90-day notice when we're going to sell or alter the property. So we use that notification on the 25th as our 90-day notice also. And in that letter, it said that we would be intend to sell the property by sealed bids on August 1st, 2023. So we are preparing for that, but that's the earliest we will be able to sell that property based on that notice given.
Okay. Did you have further questions?
I believe one of the person that had the question is online. Someone with us right now. But no, that answers my question.
Bert?
The public notice of liquidations of tax property, I believe the statement was on the town website. Does this board really think that many people look at that website in a week, let's say, compared to a newspaper?
Paul?
Well, I'm not going to comment on whether people read the newspaper or not. But the notice of the sale for the Goshen Road for the old Goshen Road property was finalized today. Will be published in the Eagle on Saturday, and the next available weekly printed publication, because I know there are days that they print and don't print. So that is ready to go, and will be, like I said, in the paper, and it will also be on our website.
Yeah.
With the sealed bids due on the 19th, as
Okay.
discussed with the board.
Okay, that's good, because the town manager's answer that was on the town website to me is woefully inadequate for both sides. No matter how you look at
Partial
it.
answer.
A public notice is significantly better. That being said, just recently the U.S. Supreme Court, in a case, and I did not bring the citation, made a decision about an elderly lady whose apartment was taken, real estate was taken, and the state, through its laws, made it so that they could actually garner more than what she owed. She appealed it, and it went all the way to, as I said, the U.S. Supreme Court. And they essentially said, and see if I can quote it right, what's owed Caesar will be paid, but not more. And so
They
now,
actually said Caesar?
excuse me?
They actually said Caesar? Pretty good for them.
No.
I don't.
History. You should know history.
Yes.
So this case makes it now clear for the states, and New Hampshire is not one of them, that garnering any more than what is owned by the taxpayer is unlawful and must be returned. But there are states that dump in all kinds of stuff, and so it's going to be real interesting to see what happens even here in New Hampshire with what you can tack on and what you can't.
Yeah, good.
And at your next meeting, if I remember, I will bring that site in so that you all can read the case.
I'm getting pretty good at reading cases now. Yeah. So.
Cases and cases of Bud Light, maybe?
No, I don't
Hanging around?
Yeah. Jeff, did you have a comment? Question?
That was my question.
Okay.
Same question
Good.
about where it published for people to see.
All right, good. Well, thank you. All right, Newport Master Plan Survey. Hunter? You?
No, that wasn't put on at my request. I believe that was from the board.
Well,
You might have already covered it.
being that I'm on the planning board also, Jeff will speak on this also, that's where the master plan survey has originated from. It is on the website, and most residents, or every resident, should have received in the mail a survey to be filled out and sent back in. To date, the responses have been very well received, so they've been getting far more back than we have in years past in previous surveys, so that's a great thing. So please keep those surveys coming. So you out there have received the survey, please take a few minutes of your time, fill that survey out, and send it in. If you, for whatever reason, did not receive that survey, you can go on to the town website through the planning board and get a copy of that survey.
You know the last
It
date?
isn't. I don't, unfortunately, without looking it up, but it is, as we've been discussing earlier, it's an important part of the master plan update in that whole process. So take a few minutes of your time and complete that survey.
I did mine the very next day.
I did mine the next day also, and
Yeah.
talking with Christina, the response has been significant. Good. So that's great. So please keep those responses coming.
We'll move now to action items. Notice of intent to award wastewater treatment facility disc filter system.
So, Mr. Chairman, you should have in front of you
Yep.
an assessment done by our engineering firm, Wright Pierce. They have put out for bid the tertiary disc filter pre-selection evaluation for our new facility, and have evaluated the responses and are making a recommendation that particular element of our project be awarded to Aqua Aerobic Systems. And it's a meaningful amount of funds and commitment, so I thought I would share that with you and seek the board's concurrence to award that contract.
Now,
at their recommendation.
as I read through that, the bid that came in is actually over what the original thought process for the
Estimate,
estimate. Yeah,
that will
Yeah.
happen.
yeah, happens.
Yeah,
But I do want to bring
particularly in
that
this
up. Yeah.
day and age, things are all over the place.
Yeah. And it is a small, what I was wondering about, not being an engineer, not wanting to be an engineer, there's a big, it seemed to be a difference between the size factor between the two facilities the two groups they were comparing.
Filters.
Yeah, thank you, two
filters.
filters, yeah. So this one that we've chosen is a smaller one. Is that okay, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the engineers have looked at them not only in terms of their current performance, but their future value,
Yeah.
how long they last, what the replacement schedule would be. So they've looked at this as a future value, from a future value perspective, and they found this one to be the most cost
Those
competitive.
costs, okay, good. Paul?
The other issue there is you've got capacity versus quantity or size. So I think the capacity was the same when it was spec'd out,
Okay.
but the footprint of one is larger than the other in footprint-wise.
Okay. Both have some additional things that'll have to be done prior to putting in the filters. Yeah.
Right, there'll be some accommodation adjustment on the, yeah, I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm trying
We
to.
don't want to have anything happen.
There'll be some alterations to the physical plan.
Physical, that's what I was going
To
to say.
to
Yeah,
adopt,
good.
to accommodate that equipment.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want an action on that? Or-
Yes.
Yeah.
please.
Go ahead, Jack.
Comment I had, looking at the table
Yeah.
we have here, Table 3, Operation and Maintenance Cost. You know, they work it out so the present worth capital and operating and maintenance costs for the aerobatics is less by about $16,000, I guess, annually. But when you just look at the present worth of annual operating and maintenance costs, the Nexum one is $11,000 less, and I'm assuming that's an annual cost of
Annual
operating
cost,
and
yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Which, you know, what's the life of this, and how does that add up once you get the capital cost, which, you know, is less for the other, but over time. So I'm not real sure as to how they, you know, for present worth, they're pretty close in their weighting, but, you know, as I said, it's just that stuck out to me, the fact that the operating cost of one is $11,000 a year less than the other, and that's the one that was weighted less. And certainly looking at the manufacturer's qualifications and experience, that's quite a difference there.
I think one of the firms one of the two firms that were sort of finalists in this process, one of them has no installations in our region. In fact, I don't think they have any in the country.
Region anyway, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
So I think that was a concern
Okay.
as to their ability to respond and maintain that system.
That's
They're
right.
looking to make inroads here.
Yeah, good.
And, you know, I don't think we want to, we were a guinea pig once before.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
And they're
yeah.
done
We've
that.
been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I hear the term filter, I always get a little worried.
Yeah, understandably so.
Good. Bert, you had a question?
No comment. Just, when we went to school, we were taught history and how we should look back at it and learn from it. Remembering the prior
Yeah.
ordeal, which wound up in litigation. For how many years? That's a question. Anybody ballpark it for me?
10.
6, I'm saying.
10?
Six in litigation.
6.
Excuse me?
6.
6? Okay. 6 years and millions of dollars.
Yep.
And in that time period, the project, from matter of fact, it never worked from the get-go, is my understanding.
Correct.
So that's kind of like buying a brand new car, and you go put the key in the ignition, and it don't go. And so, where were the selectmen at that time? Asleep at the wheel of the car that wouldn't go. So you're looking at these changes in engineering that you hired. I should think that you would take it to a level of study higher than just, dollars. If this one doesn't work, what do? We continue to fish the brown trout in the Sugar River. It's got to change. If we're going to spend this much money, we need to know that this project is going to work. And I had asked Paul for other communities who were using this system. And it was one. And I found it smaller than us. And so maybe there's some history there with them that we can learn from to make sure that we're not making another big mistake. Let's face it, this bond that you will sign, the money that you take from us taxpayers, the responsibility for doing it right is given to you as a board. And so, Brother Pond, let's not go through this shit again. Sorry about that. So,
As I read this, I had a lot of different thoughts about it. We are relying on the engineer that we hired for this.
Correct.
They have numerous similar projects in our region, and all this material and the engineering is reviewed and approved by the state of New Hampshire as well.
Did that happen before?
Yeah, Bert, I don't disagree with you. We don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking you for a higher level of review. In other words, just because Jeff did it tonight, he actually went in depth a bit further. This board should do this because we can't make this mistake again.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah, I did read it to the best of my ability.
yes, and if the engineer that you hired works for the contractor, you don't have an engineer that's working for you.
He doesn't work for a contractor.
He doesn't.
No,
He works for the town.
right.
Okay?
Yeah, he works for the town. And that's a good question. I tried to find out about that. So. Jeff?
Yeah, just to clarify, this is the same engineering firm that presented in the Opera House back in February and was at the deliberative session.
He's getting paid $4 million plus dollars, so he should have it right.
So he's not tied to either of these vendors. He basically was hired by us to oversee the project.
I would ask if you have comments, and I appreciate your comments, Steve, but please go through the chair board.
No.
Paul? All right. Are you looking for some sort of action tonight?
Yes, this is a critical element of the overall design, and we'd like to get this contractor on board and the equipment being prepared to stay on schedule. So
What happens if it doesn't work?
the engineer, as it was in the past case, will be culpable for failure in design and or the manufacturer if the material does not perform at the level or in the manner that has been prescribed. I don't know that there's any way short of actually building it to guarantee that it's going to work. You have to build a parallel system.
Similar ones have been built, correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. This is tried and true. In fact, one of the questions that we posed to the engineer was, this firm versus the other firm's reliability, availability of parts, the material, the actual cloth, if you can use that word, fabric that's being used in this filter, is readily available, off the shelf, can get anywhere, any number of places with days' notice.
Yeah, which wasn't the case in the last.
That's correct. It was a proprietary kind of situation. So this one is not only the process, but the materials being used, because I was concerned about given supply chain concerns that they might prescribe something that would only be available on Tuesdays and from this specific place in the world, and this material is available all over the country.
Mhm.
You can go down and basically buy it almost locally, any statement in the country. So from that respect, it's a readily available materials.
Okay.
And that they have worked with this company before, and it's working in other places. I don't know how much more you could do without, actually, as I said, putting in a demo or a beta site on our site and running it. I don't know how else you would do it. And they'd have to,
That would cost money.
well, it would, and as you've already noticed, the facility is going to have to be altered to accommodate this particular unit. So,
Yeah, good. Thank you. Paul, you had your hand up?
No, I'm,
What are you doing? Just stretching or?
Yeah, I'm stretching.
Oh, okay.
Eric?
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, one comment about, the cost, and certainly the taxpayers of Newport are on hook for about half of it, but
Yep.
the federal government and the state government are also parties to this and have anteed up a little over half of the money, so it's not just
Yep.
our money, and if it doesn't work, the feds and the state may be looking for some restitution too.
this one's for
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
That brings, there's actually, this project, in different from the last one, there's a third layer of review and approvals to this because of the EPA being involved. So the last time it was our engineers and the state. This time it's our engineers, the state, and the feds. So there's a whole nother level of review into the process, the equipment, everything.
The feds, you mean the EPA?
EPA. I'm sorry, USDA.
USDA.
rural
USDA.
development is, they have their own engineers that are involved in this.
Okay.
They talk about
And they've seen all this?
And just as a small correction, I don't believe it's on the taxpayer, I believe it's on the users of the water and sewage.
Sewer users.
Sewer users, right. I mean, essentially it's a tax, but just for those who are listening, it's not a taxed item.
Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation of Wright Pierce and award the contract to Aqua Aerobatic Systems,
for a little bit.
A little bit.
whatever.
Well, you want to get the right company.
I'll second that.
Does it have a dollar value?
Is there a dollar value?
Yep, it's listed under conclusions and
Yeah,
recommendations.
for the amount of $482,710.
Should that be part of the motion?
That's included in the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Riley, did you get that?
Got it.
Okay.
Good. You second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstain? Negative? Passes 4-0. And I appreciate the input from the audience. It was good to be thinking about different things. Adoption and approval of operational guidelines handbook for boards of selectmen.
Question on that.
Yes.
Just require a renewal signature, or I signed this my first year, so has anything changed?
I think we just have to
Require a new
adopt it.
signature or just
We
adoption?
would
Just adopt it.
It's kind of in the annual.
Okay, so it's a renewal and new signature?
And I did send a notice out to board members to make sure they had read it prior to coming here.
I did read it.
I reread it, and I couldn't pick up that there was new changes on
No,
it, which is
I
why I
don't think there is.
No, I think the only change is on the signature page where it includes today's date.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I'd make a motion we accept,
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Accept or adopt?
adopt.
Adopt.
I'm sorry, adopt.
Yeah, we need to say adopt. Yeah.
Second the motion to adopt it.
Okay. Got that around? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
All right, you have an original somewhere we all sign?
Should be in the folder. Yes, no?
Probably signed it.
I don't remember signing it tonight.
I didn't see it in there.
But we'll find it.
Yeah, I've got one with signatures on it.
I have this one.
Okay, good.
The old one has signatures.
Does anyone? This one all right?
Okay, we'll do
Does it
that.
have your name on it?
They have
Yes, it
this.
does. Jeffrey S. Moore.
Yeah.
Pass that one off. Sign that one.
Okay, let's keep
You
this,
can keep that for you.
let's keep this moving. All right. The next thing is a little confusing. Annual appointments to boards and committees, which we did last time.
No, that was us last time. This is other people. Very true.
I didn't see anything in there. for other people.
They're very, last page right here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
The letters that went out.
Yep. Yep.
To the people that want to get reappointed.
Okay. Oh, right here. Thank you. All right, so we have advisory board.
Airport advisory.
Yeah, what did I do without you here, John? Airport Advisory Board. Scott McCoy, full member, 3 years, expires 2026.
Make a motion, we appoint Scott McCoy as a full member to the Airport Advisory Board for a term of 3 years, ending end of June 2026.
All those in favor? Oh, I could have a second.
I have a question on that before we.
Mm-hmm.
He lists a P.O. box. Is he a Newport resident or is it
He's North Newport.
North Newport? Okay. Just know that we've
Good
had
question.
some people on
Yep.
these advisory boards that have not been residents, so I just want
Right.
to. I believe he's here. Bill?
No.
He wasn't here earlier?
No, Scott wasn't here. Scott is also an alternate on the
Zoning
zoning
board.
board. So,
All right, Conservation Commission, Don Shagan.
There was
Oh, we
a
didn't vote.
motion. I'll second that then.
Trying to move this thing along. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Also, just, I believe on the advisory board and also the Rec Advisory Council, you do not need to be a resident of Newport since they're advisory.
Okay, let's wait till we get down to that. Conservation Commission, Don Shagan, full member, 3 years, 2026.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Donald Shagan as a full member of the Conservation Commission for a term of 3 years to expire into June 2026.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Planning Board,
I'll make a motion, we appoint Bert Spalding Sr. as an alternate member for a 3-year term to expire on end of June 2026, and to appoint Tobin Bernard as a full member for a 3-year term to expire end of June 2026.
have you been an alternate in the past, Bert?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Take me off.
You have been, I think.
Yeah,
You've been an alternate
alternate.
before.
That was my question.
Oh.
Okay. Take me off as an alternate.
Okay.
So you do not wish to be on here as an alternate
Okay.
any longer?
Correct.
So Riley, we will be removing Bert Spalding, Senior, from the Planning Board.
And let me restate the motion.
Yep, go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Tobin Menard as a full member to the planning board for a term of 3 years to expire end of June 2026.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Rec Advisory Council, which you don't have to be a member of,
A resident.
resident of the town.
Okay.
Okay?
Make a motion that we appoint Richard A. Coda, Kim Gaddis, and Richard Hammond as full members to the Rec Advisory Council for 3-year terms, with their terms to expire end of June 2020. I'm sorry,
Richard Ham is different.
but it says 3 years.
Yeah, I haven't figured that out.
Do we know what it's supposed to be? Does it end next year?
It says
or is it a
2024 for Richard Hammond, which is different from the others that are 2026.
Right, but it says length of term 3 years,
I
Yeah,
think it's supposed to be 26 type one.
which is a typo.
Richard Hammond.
The 3-year or the 2024?
Well, we really don't know that, so why don't we vote on the other two, and then we'll find out more about that.
Are all
next time.
term lengths always 3 years?
Yeah.
So,
What he may be doing, he may be, sorry,
Maybe replacing.
Mr. Chairman, he may be
Thank you.
replacing somebody.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, let me restate the motion. Make a motion, we appoint Richard A. Coda and Kim Gaggus as full members of the Rec Advisory Council for 3-year terms, with their terms expiring end of June 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Zoning Board of Adjustment.
But I want to make another motion because Rec Advisory, we may not be able to resolve this until Rec Advisory meets again, and I'd like to appoint him for at least 1 year, and we can modify it later, just so they have a whole board until we resolve it.
Do you want to appoint him for the 3 years and then resolve it?
No, just
Do you think
appoint him
that-
for the 1 year, 2024, and we can always come back later and extend it.
Do I hear a second?
Sure, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good call, Jeff.
Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Make a motion to appoint Scott McCoy as an alternate member for 3 years, term to expire June 2026, and full member to Timothy Beard and Ben Nelson for 3-year terms to expire June 30th of 2026.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
And I resigned from the alternate
Yes.
zoning board.
Yeah. So, did we make a motion on that to accept his resignation?
Guess what?
An alternate?
I think we did that a few meetings ago.
And we put him as an alternate then, also. Right.
That's
Went from
correct.
member to alternate.
And now you don't want to be an alternate.
Now I'm backing out of the alternate.
On both planning and zoning.
Both planning and zoning.
So I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept Burke Spalding Sr.'s resignation as an alternate member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
What are we gonna do?
That passes. What's that?
Need new people.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could
ma'am.
you please tell me who the alternate is for the Heritage Commission?
Yep.
I was never informed of the appointments. I'm assuming Mr. Burrows is staying on, but who's the alternate from the Board of Selectmen?
Let me look it up.
Be in the minutes.
Jeff North.
Oh, okay.
I had a feeling it was me. You're making me busy quickly.
Thank
Well-
you very much.
Conversely, if I can't go, I'll let you know.
Okay,
I'm generally there.
okay.
Oh, I missed the last one.
Yeah, you were. Generally, you're there, but except for the meeting.
Let it matter.
All right, does that conclude anything else under that? No, we're all set. Good, okay. All right, so at this time we'll move to open forum, chance for the public to have a chance to speak on any topic they wish. Yes, Steve.
I just have a few things. Steve Morris, resident Newport. The first one is, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but as the chairman of the school board, got the notice that y'all were going to be able to have a quorum this Thursday,
Correct.
and that y'all wanted to put a committee together. Now, granted, the school board hasn't heard this, but my personal opinion on it is we should just discuss it out in the open, because we've discussed it ad nauseum, the history of how we got to where we are. And so I really encourage us two boards to find a way to work together, to link up, spend no more than, it shouldn't take very long to just go through it and have a discussion about the bus barn. And we had discussed the proposal, I want to say it was at the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, in open forum for the pole barn that y'all had offered up. I guess that was right after the election, but I just want to throw it out there. I got notified from the superintendent that y'all weren't going to be able to make it. So my personal opinion is I'd like to work together. We need to move forward, move past all the other stuff, because we're the two boards in the community and we need to work together because a lot of our stuff overlap and we got to have that good communication. So that's just my recommendation. And then also from the school board side, I want to know if there's anything that we can do to expedite the situation with the recreation field to help get construction moving along, because we're supposed to break ground in about 2 months, and it's going to take some time to get all this paperwork through. So I just want to offer it out there if there's any assistance that's needed, if I need to make phone calls myself personally to get people to sign, or
You're talking about CTE?
yes, for the building renovation, to put it up where there's a grant that the town received
Correct.
that nobody was tracking until Mr. Carr, I think, brought it up a few months back. And so, that's no fault of anybody's own, but I just, because I'm on that committee as well, we got a short time frame to work with, so I'm just offering it. If I need to do anything, I'm available.
I could be wrong, Steve, but I think we're waiting on a line definition or something of that nature.
That's a separate, that's the encroachment of the hockey field onto town property. This is the replacement of former land and water conservation land that will come out of
Thank you.
conservation to accommodate the CTE, and we have to find a similarly sized, valued, and functioning property to replace the property that's going to come out. And we're working on that. I deal directly with Mr. Edmonds on that, Edmonds. So in fact, I spoke with him today and updated him as to where we were.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. We're on a short time frame. I'm
Appreciate
just
your comment.
offering it up. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the situation or anything else, other than originally it was going to be like a 5-day process of select land, and now, when we first found out about it from Mr. Carr, and now we're going down to like 2 months with no resolution, and groundbreaking is supposed to be in 2 months for the actual building that's out there. So I'm making myself available as a citizen. If you need help, I can make phone calls. I've dealt with bureaucracy. I understand. Whatever you need me to do, I'll help with that. And
I would say, as a strong supporter of CTE, I want to see it done.
I think we all do. I just,
We have a former director right here, and then a former,
Plural.
yeah. Well, you were at the state level.
so I just wanted to throw that out there, those two things. I
Good. Thank
appreciate
you,
your
Steve.
consideration.
Yep, thank you. Anybody else for open forum?
Thomas
Yeah,
Brennan.
I saw you, Bert.
Sorry. Let me go first, fine.
No, I'd better let you go first.
Okay, how you doing? I'm here on a couple of different things. Interesting, this gentleman with the school board, SAU and stuff. I was here 2 months ago when you gave an abatement to Mill for their running out the mill into rental, building out the mill into housing. If you recalled, a page was presented here about impacts of mill properties to SAU units, and there were several listed there. And there wasn't much of a discussion. What was interesting is there were 2 spelling errors on the thing. There was no indication of any engineering firm doing the data search, just somebody's name at the bottom typed on, and the gentleman making the presentation. I took the time to go to 5 of the SAUs. You don't want to know the percentage that number is off.
Percentage, could you?
Where they came up and they said, oh, the amount the mill property will add to the school district and everything,
Add numbers.
1,400% in Tilton. When they had a builder give them, oh, it'll only add like 8 students or something. They built the whole school after the construction on the 2 mills up there. I mean, I'm not trying to, you guys, you don't have legal representation here. You don't have a town attorney at any of these meetings or anything? And again, I'm from big city, so, and I've been on a board for 20 years myself in New York. Developers will come here and promise you the sky, and they don't give a damn. They, I think you get developers coming here that are building and getting out. I mean, I came into the town 10 years ago buying property and make it affordable for people. And I buy property and fix it up. I don't come for abatements and everything. I have a vested interest. I have a lot of property in Leominster and they're in the county. I get 17 properties in this town. And I continue to look at opportunities. But I just hate to see you go down the wrong road. And I've here several times. I'm here right now as a consultant to 2 entities, and that's what I made the last several meetings for. My background, I ran a corporate flight department for 3 different entities in my career. I'm still employed by one, all Fortune 10 companies. The airport, there is no airport in the United States of America that has a 4-story housing unit within 1,500 feet of a runway. And there's a proposal here to build one within 300 feet of a runway. The FAA doesn't care what you do. You can do anything you want. There's regulations for different operators. You go out and get a private pilot's license, you can take off or do anything you want. That building has no effect. If you go back to 2008, when the big 3 car makers all went to Washington for handouts, all in their corporate jets, that was the end of business aviation for seeing Chase Manhattan Bank, Citibank having flight departments. It's all third parties now. Nobody owns their jet, don't want their name on it. You got NetJets, VistaJets, flight options. That's what is out there today. There are 2 entities that have operations in this area that use outside planes to come into this airport.
Mm-hmm.
Those are operated under 91K and 135. That building at 300 plus feet from the lateral ends, 91K operator and a 135 cannot come into that airport. That building goes up. One of the operators, one of the people that I'm reporting to, doesn't get involved in local politics. They vote with their feet. And I've seen them move factories out of areas. I can name towns that in 40 years just went away. And there's a lot of demographic change in this state. We're a very blue state right now. There's an operation in this town. They have another operation in a very red state.
Yes.
And there's a lot of expansion going down there. And it's not family controlled anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the bottom line, and the investors have a lot to say. So the question I have is I'm trying to put something together as to whether this building's going up or not, and where does it stand? Because I sat in here 2-3 weeks ago regarding the Avenue property, and they were looking for relief on the sewer hookups, which tends to indicate to me this thing's already planned and gone. So I'm ready to say,
Their building, yeah.
this building, done deal, it's going to go on.
No.
Okay, I just have...
You and I have talked about this before.
Yeah, I know, and I
appreciated your comments, and I tried to find out how do you...
Well, has it been approved? I mean...
Well, that's what zoning, who's got zoning?
Here's the interesting thing.
Zoning
is-
approved it.
Zoning has approved it.
Right, and as far as the height in that zone, you can build up to 40 feet tall. They needed 43 feet, and we approved the 3 additional feet for height.
Did you take into, well, I don't want to put you on the spot, Jeff, but was it taken into consideration what this gentleman has just mentioned?
You will just lose 2 major operations up here.
So-
That's that you can't operate a 91K with that structure within the boundary of the runway safety area. Not happening. 91, FAA gives regulations you got to operate under. And the operations spec and the insurance companies will not let corporations run in here 91K or 135 with that building there.
Was that taken
No.
into?
I don't
that
think
was
they
not.
understand it.
No. No, what was taken into consideration was the height of the trees between the proposed building.
A lot different hitting a tree than it is hitting a house. you know.
That's a natural. You know what a low head dam is?
Mhm.
All right. That building basically on a southeasterly breeze becomes a low head dam to the airport.
Okay.
If the southeasterly breeze, you're landing on that runway. Where the wind hits that building, gets lifted, and starts coming down on the other side, you got turbulence. You got a plane landing at a slow speed, dirty, low power setting. You got the flaps and the gear out. Hits turbulence. Yeah, plus you've got a building now. You put in the kids are probably going to be in there. There's no fence around that airport. What's to keep a kid from going out, playing in the yard, and end up on the airport, leaving his tricycle there on the airport? You're going to fence the airport? Or kids with laser pointers pointing them out the window at airplanes. My safety analysis to the companies is not good.
Yeah. By any chance, did you attend a zoning meeting at all? or-
I knew nothing about it.
Okay, so zoning has passed it, planning board has not.
I believe that had been approved from both boards. But I'm not prepared to discuss that this evening, but I believe that's the case. And so I believe it's approved for senior housing, not general population.
It doesn't matter, it's the size of the building that close
It's
to
the
the
height.
I was speaking to your concern about children.
Well,
So
But the height,
But I understand that
They
issue
got a
of the
variance
wind
for the height, I
turbines.
believe.
they got a variance for the height.
I believe so.
Wow.
you had 17 acres there, one-story buildings all the way around, nice garden apartments. This is crazy.
Okay,
I just know
I really appreciate you bringing this up, and I think that the board at some point very quickly needs to deal with this process. You've raised some excellent safety points.
There also, as I understand, the parameters where they went off the runway for their markings, your runway's 50 feet.
Mhm.
Standard runway in the U.S. is 60 feet for GA airports. So their numbers are off, and they went from the center line of the runway, not from the safety boundary, which is 20 feet laterally off the edge of the pavement. So the numbers are nowhere near right.
Really appreciate your comments.
It's a big thing. I look at it too, because I have properties here. Do I just start unloading them? Because this place will be a ghost town. It's been an economically soft county since I bought property in '86 in Webster. Sullivan County is, we don't get anything from the Upper Valley. I mean, nobody's building anything here. Your biggest manufacturer, the machine shops here support that place.
Okay,
I
board
appreciate-
will be looking into that. I appreciate your comments,
I think,
and I will get back to you
It's a
about.
great little town. Actually, they're
I think
hanging
it
a mural on the side of my building, the library board. I'm trying to
Nice.
push the town.
Yeah, good. Good. Well, thank you.
All right, no, I appreciate it. I just sat here listening to the meetings all the time, it's like, you guys just don't get it. And I understand, small town. I love it up here. Unfortunately, I go tomorrow back to New York. So,
You fly to New York.
no, I'm not just
No.
driving down.
I'm just
It's
driving.
quicker. I'll be back up.
Okay,
Sorry to ruin your night, guys.
you didn't. Actually, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome to call me. My
Yeah.
number's available.
I have you now.
All right.
Couldn't find it the last time I tried to call you, but I
All
didn't
right.
find
You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
this. Bert?
Many 1A requests. This is not a request that I made, it's another citizen made, but it shows the redaction of what's being received by the public. So now, I'm going to ask you, Barry, to make an answer available. If I ask for the amount of money spent on litigation in a right to know request, can you give me a document that doesn't say what the case is?
Well, obviously we can, we did right here, but I'm not saying it's the right thing.
So
If,
out of that,
depends on how it,
I find
depends on how it's asked, I guess.
Excuse me?
Depends on how it's asked. What's that?
No, 91A does not require you to generate a document. It only is to provide the documents that are available. You cannot generate a document under 91A. So an answer cannot generate a standalone document. It has to be a conglomeration of the documents that are existing.
Okay, I got that, Jim. I understand that. But I make a request for how much money you are spending on lawyers for particular items. Then it would be your responsibility then to redact what does not serve to answer my question, but give me what does serve my question. Never mind, redact everything top to bottom.
But it's,
So,
go ahead. Go ahead.
if I make that request of how much you have spent on Town of Newport fighting Sullivan County right here in town, and I cannot come to a dollar value of attorney fees that you have spent, you then violate the right to know request, because I am entitled to that information. It is not protected.
You're correct.
So let's not look at loopholes and go forward with requests that are like this. I have one pending right now with Hunter that he's got on a hard drive, or whatever he's got on a thumb drive, and I'm determining whether that meets the law. The law says it can be that way, but I didn't ask for it that way. I asked for documents, to review the documents, period. Not to come in and review what he chooses to feed me of what I want.
You've asked for original documents?
I want to come in to view
Yeah.
the documents. It's now on this thumb drive for me to review
Yeah.
the documents. No, I want to review the originals. But that's another issue other than this.
Yeah.
On legal fees, a citizen is entitled to know how much money you are spending and what you are spending it on. And so right now, I want a right to know request and to make it very, very specific. I want to know the exact dollar amounts that have been spent on the litigation between Sullivan County and you, the town's portion, not Sullivan County's. I've already got that. I want yours. I want to know what this town has spent fighting within ourselves here in Sullivan County. I want to see the bills. I want them to add up to the amount that's there. I want that documentation. And so, Mr. Reesberg seems to think that Bert is going to go away.
Oh, I don't think he does.
Bert, well, then his foolishness is motivating. And I have lost all trust in him. I said that once before. Usually a person who is honest is forthcoming and gives it to you. Bert, tell me more what you want right here. Sullivan County, I've already told you this. Within a week, I had access to their documentation. He set it up for 70 days. So I said to myself, wow, Sullivan County isn't going to give me what I want. I went in and lo and behold, I got this much information and a room to sit down and view it. It's all there.
Did you get original documents?
I'm looking at original documents.
So they haven't digitized?
Excuse me?
They haven't digitized the original documents?
No, it was original documents. This much. You know, I'm not playing with words here. That
No, I'm
much.
not either. I got questions.
One notebook was that much, double-sided. Virginia Ehrman's in there with her when she was on the Sullivan County delegation. All of it, all the way through. So, I'm saying to this board and to this town manager, he's a town manager, and I'm a citizen. And if he don't perform, I'm putting this right up and stacking it right up. It's going to be one hell of a lawsuit. And I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. Because the comparison between the two is, the dichotomy is striking. I want my answers. And I will continue to dog him and you with right to know requests until I get what I want. And I have no intentions of backing off. So this is a part of me resigning from the boards and getting back here far enough to say, okay, I'm going to fight one battle. And that one battle is going to be public information. When a request is made, it is fulfilled. Correctly, honestly, and legally. So, you people just made an ethics and things that you've got to abide by. Is there one for him?
Of course there is.
Ah, of course there is. Well, then you've got a job to do. So my right to know request that I've made tonight is very specific and detailed. And I want the exact amount of money. I want who it was paid for. I want it all.
So
Without the redaction of what the issue is that they're talking about.
okay. We'll check into that.
Want me to respond to that, or would you be good?
You can respond.
So, as you know, Mr. Spalding made this request some months ago.
Mhm.
And due to the scope
I want that back.
Due to the scope of the request, it was turned over to our town attorney. Our town attorney has gathered together all the documents that he feels is responsive to the request. He has put them all on a thumb drive. No one from our office has had any determination or any input as to what should be put on the thumb drive and what shouldn't be put on the thumb drive, or the prescribed format of the documents. And as you all know, I'm sure, 91A speaks to access to information documents.
Right.
And it does not require the municipality or the respondent, in our case, the responding party, to calculate, format, create records, do surveys, create spreadsheets, anything of that nature. I believe all the information that Mr. Spalding is seeking is on the thumb drive that has now been sitting up on Joanne's desk for, I'm just going to guess, in excess of a month now. Mr. Spalding was informed when the information was available. He did not respond and did not collect that information. When he made the assertion or expressed his concerns about not having the actual document, that's not something that can be complied with because much of the information has all been digitized. But all of the information is on that thumb drive at great expense, which he has chosen not to even look at. So I would suggest to him that he avail himself of that document or that instrument, see what's on it. And we have offered him a room and a computer to sit down and review those documents or review that thumb drive at his leisure if it's a challenge to do that at home.
So,
And the attorney has made the determination as to the format and has determined that providing these documents in an electronic format satisfies the 91A request or law. And so I can't question him about that. He has been in charge of this process and responding to it. Despite the repeated assertions that I have something to do with this, that it's wholly incorrect. I passed his information, his request, on to our attorney. Our attorney prepared the response, and I passed that back on to Mr. Spalding.
have the documents, the original documents that we're talking about here, all been digitized?
Everything is on. I don't know which documents are digital and which ones were digitized for this response. All I know is that everything that is responsive to the request is now in digital form on the thumb drive. And the law does not provide or allow for someone from the public to request or direct what format that response is going to be in.
Right.
So, I can only tell you what our attorney tells us.
But haven't we also offered the fact that we would, if necessary, run off all of the 1,000 pages?
Yeah, usually what happens is people look at these things and they say, well, I think I want
Right.
a copy of this and I think I want a copy of that. Because in many cases, what we provide, they say, no, I'm not really interested in that. No, I'm not really interested in this. If you're looking at, I'm just going to guess because I can't tell you how many pages are on the thumb drive. But let's say there's 100. There might only be one or two that they're interested in having. Because there's a cost of printing off those documents. So if you want to say, well, I want everything on that thumb drive, you might want to check that first because it might be 1,000 pages on there. And it'll cost 25 cents a page to produce those. And most of the time people want to look at them in either look at them electronically so they can make a selection as to which documents they actually want to take away with them, which we're happy to accommodate.
Bullshit. I can come in here and ask to look at an original document, and you've got to show me the original document.
Only if it exists.
I didn't say anything when you were speaking. You shut up while I am.
All right, that's enough.
Well, I was talking. I have the
No, he
floor.
paused. He just responded to you.
No.
Go ahead.
I wasn't asking him a question.
Okay.
I was making a fact to you, the board. Okay? I want to review the originals. The documents that are actually in your files. If they're not in your files as a document, then okay, I'll accept that, depending on what it is. But the original documents, going way back, and I made my request right from the beginning of this, prior to O'Neill's battle with Sullivan County. So for him to shove it off to an attorney is in fact dereliction of duty from the get-go with him.
Actually, that was okayed by the board. So
Excuse me?
that was okayed by the board.
For him to take it, send that whole thing on.
Correct.
Okay, why didn't Sullivan County do that?
I would never, ever speak for Sullivan County.
Well,
Okay.
I should think you abide by the same law and the same reasonableness. And I'm
He's not done.
I'm not finished. You're looking to shut it down now, and I'm not ready to shut it down because I'm telling you that,
I'm not looking to shut it down.
well, then
Go ahead.
I will continue to speak, Barry. So if you have these documents, come get them. Geez, I made another right to know request on the Town Times, and I came in just like that, reviewed the documents, the original documents. That wasn't sent to an attorney to be digitized. Where did the attorney get all of the information that I'm asking for? Did he pull your files and digitize all of them? Or did he only send me what he wanted, or what he sent to him? I want to see it all. And I will come right here to review. And I'm not accepting what he does. He can say,
Did they something was dialing in? Oh.
Lisa was just speech this time. Go ahead.
okay, so if I have a right to review the documents, does someone have a right to send it to someone else who is not cognizant of what's in the files and may say this is complete?
Mhm.
I want to know that it's complete. I want to go through the files. They're here, they exist. And so that's not happened. And then comes this issue here with the redaction of something that no citizen can look at and say, that's how much money they spent on that issue.
Well, you could look at that, I think, Bert. You could look at that and say, this is the amount of money they spent. But you can't, I have no idea what's redacted
Yeah,
there.
but what's the issue? Over the year, you spend, let's say you spend $60,000 over the year. And I want to know a issue, particularly with Sullivan County. I want to know how much you had in the war chest to fight them for X number of years with our taxpayer money. It's our money fighting our money. I want to bring that to a financial resolution. I want to see who did what when. I want to see when the town pushed and bang, it went to litigation. And I'm entitled to that.
Or the county portion.
Excuse me?
Or the county portion. Might not be just the town.
Both.
Yeah.
Both. I want to know. For a matter of fact, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for who kicked ass first. Who started the confrontation? What was right in the end? And what was the end result? So I'm doing it. I picked this as a project, and I give up other things because this is going to be my life. I'm going to make this project. I'm going to know what this man didn't give me. And you as a board are standing and not doing your job. I am entitled to that information. You can stop the litigation by sending me a letter saying, hey, Bert, the documentation will be ready for your review. And I will come in, I'll schedule a place and time, and I'll come in and do my review of the actual documents.
Can I call on Jeff?
Yes.
done?
Yeah, my permission.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yes, the process on the town side was turned over to our attorney to handle when you in a Board of Selectmen's meeting told us you were going to sue us if we did not produce the same documents that the county did. At that point, with the threat of litigation, we were obligated to turn it over to our attorney.
I see. But the history that was in there, you're not obligated to. So that allowed you to escape all of the other stuff that was not litigious.
Once you threatened us with litigation if we did not match document for document what the county was giving you.
Now, you're putting the match document to document.
Can I?
Yes, you can.
You know, I'd like to
Okay, let's
be able
go.
to finish a sentence.
Go.
The decision was made that with your threat of litigation, that we would turn it over to our attorney to answer your 91A request. The format he chose to do that, I'm assuming he knows more about the legalese of responding to 91As than anyone on this board does, so we are going with what the attorney, you know, developed, produced for you, and the format he came up with.
Paul, you were either stretching or did you have a comment?
I was just going to say, that redaction comes out of on the legal bills, comes out of my office. The first line should say the issue at hand, and currently our attorney is billing us by the issue on separate bills. It's an incredible waste of paper, but it makes it easier for this. So I would hope that that bill is addressed to us, and then the first line should say what the issue is, and then we redact those that are active cases, where we are defending ourselves. And so that's the whole redaction, but that should say what the purpose is and what the total amount is.
It doesn't have those pages. That page doesn't have it.
Doesn't have it. It doesn't have it. Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So to elaborate on Paul's comments, so if you can go through the topic by topic and add up the costs that are associated.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Associated with that topic. And I believe Mr. Spalding will find similar documents in
Yeah,
his
there are details on it.
Thunder.
If it's not a case that we're defending ourselves,
Okay.
we usually do not redact.
Good comment.
If it's a personnel issue, we redact any identifying names, addresses, departments. But generally, we try to provide the documentation that we feel is eligible based on legal status.
So the redaction, just so everybody will get it clearly, depends on whether it's an active case or not.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Spalding's request in terms of original documents. Have all of those documents been digitized, or do we have access to original documents or not?
I don't know to what extent. I can't tell you out of 1,000 pages that there was 10. All of the data has been digitized and provided on the thumb drive. I can't tell you how many of those pages came from originals or previously scanned or scanned documents. I just don't know the breakdown. But all of the documents that are responsive to the request are available to Mr. Spalding, and I have spoken to him and asked him the specific question: is this responsive? Can the person asking for the 91A determine the format? And he said, no, this is responsive and satisfies 91A. I can't tell you any more than that.
Yes, Bert.
I have not talked to him about this, except for in this form. Period. Since my request was made. All my words have been in front of you, the board, not with him. So for him to make that statement is disingenuous at best, an outright lie in another.
I prefer you to stay with disingenuous, but go ahead.
So if there is a document in this building, what documents went to this person to be digitized and what was left behind? So if I asked for it, I would think that somebody would take the file and send it to you and say, Bert, because that's what Sullivan County did. And that's the right thing to do. Because I have a right to investigate what you do via the Constitution. You can't hide it, Richard Nixon. You know, it just gets stupid. Yes, it was a large request, but it was a large request to your neighbor. And they gave it to me. Now, it could be, you know, we don't file, we just kind of put it over here in a pile and shovel it away in a corner. That might be an excuse that I would have to accept. But over here, it's obvious, they got a file system that works, and they must pay their help to do that. So we must have it here also. And therefore, I want to see them. So this board has to, when you go into non-public tonight, you ought to add personnel. You ought to discuss it. Because I'm going to make a case out of this, and I'm going to win this one, just like I did the Dewey case. It's time for the request to end. What he has got on his thumb drive, he can take it and stuff it. I want to see the documentation.
Well,
I'm done.
we will be talking about that later. Good.
Thank you.
Barry,
Yes, I'm sorry, Jeff.
just one comment. I think when Hunter was referencing, how the documents were just put together, he mentioned you, and I think he was actually should have been mentioning the attorney as, who said what format it could be delivered in. He was thinking about you, and so he said you, and he should have said the attorney when he said that statement that he checked with whoever. I can't remember the words now. But I think he would have been consulting with the attorney, not you, about what format is acceptable. And I think we've had that discussion before here.
Yes, we have.
No.
I understand what you said, Chris. We will be discussing it. You've made another request tonight. This was quite clear about what you wanted. So hopefully we can move forward.
Okay, so that means you're not taking my last comment here.
Then I'm going to what?
I wanted to make a last comment, and you came out.
Go ahead.
All right. Jeff, a lot of this gets right down to the dichotomy between the two. They didn't send it out an attorney. They have in-house attorneys, but nobody reviewed it. When I got the answer that I could come in, I actually said, wow, this can't be right. But I went in that Friday, and it was all there. How the hell do you get away from that? And why would you want to? Now, you say because I threatened litigation. Hell, I threatened litigation in this room probably 50 times, maybe more.
52.
And that means that I'm not eligible? I mean, every citizen that comes in here that makes a right to know request is a threat to litigation. Because if he should find the information that was there that said what he was thinking or something that was wrong, then it might wind up there. So to use that as an excuse, Jeff, just doesn't do it. Just doesn't cut it with me. I'm a citizen. Law says I can have this. I'm going to have it. And so where do we go from here? And you have a threat tonight of litigation. Because this is going to go somewhere. I am going to get my information, one way or another.
Thank you, Bert. Anybody else for open forum? Yes, Pete.
Two things. One is a quick thing, the other not so quick. When are the tax documents updated on the website? So, for example, we can go in and look at Avatar and look at everyone's property card.
Yes.
When do they get updated when buildings are added to a piece of property?
Paul, do you have an answer to that question?
For the maps or the Avatar system?
For the Avatar system, not for the maps. Well, I guess they would go on the map as well if a building is constructed.
Right, well, so our assessor goes out and picks up, they do pickups in the spring, they've just finished. So they should be reflected on, the majority should be reflected on the current bill. I'm sorry, in the current system, it's updated monthly when the transfers come through. So it should be there. We have a new assessor, and we had some issues just through the transition. So there were some small things, a few decks and things that won't be on until, I think the deadline is August. So there may be a few pickups that are not in there currently, but they should be there now. The maps are actually updated annually for seeing the buildings. I think that is also in the fall.
So if a building was built after April 1st, it wouldn't be on the tax base, but if they did the update in the spring, then the building should show up anytime. Is that right?
If it was started after April 1st this year, you won't see it until next year.
Physically, you won't see it.
You won't see it on the tax card because it wasn't, April 1st is the tax date.
Okay?
If it was started in February, it would probably be on there as under construction or have a notation, and it would be 20% depreciated or
Whatever.
value or whatever. So it's reflective as of April 1st, essentially.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. That
So
answer your question, okay.
that was just a side question. So you are talking about tax sale for Chandler's Mills Road. I'm assuming it's one of those pieces of property that you've been talking about for quite some time that really has fallen in disrepair and looks like a dump. So when you do that, who is responsible for cleaning that up prior to the sale, or does it happen after the sale?
I think we're responsible for it, if we choose to.
To be the condition of the sale.
It'd be it might be a condition of the sale, things of that nature. I mean, we don't make a habit of saying, yeah, we're going to clean it up. We take a look at the process of selling it. And, dumps are sold every day.
So if the town does it, do you use town forces, or do you have a contract with somebody to do the cleanup?
Paul, do you have an answer for that?
We've done it both ways in the past.
And what is the current situation right now? Do you
We-
have a contract with somebody to do cleanup?
We do individual property.
Property
Go
by
ahead.
property?
Yeah.
So you let a contract out every time?
Yeah. Hunter, do you have an answer?
So the decision or the response to that is decided on a case-by-case basis. And in this case, it was our intention to offer the property for sale following the final date that we've already referred to, with a requesting that whoever wants to purchase it post a surety to ensure that the property is lawfully and properly cleaned and
Okay.
put back to
So
its
in this
proper-
case, we're saying they're going to, the
Correct.
condition of the sale would be the
Yeah.
purchaser would clean it up.
Yeah, the reason why we're doing that is because we have interested parties who have said that they're willing to bid under those circumstances. So that's advantageous to the town, I believe. And so that's our intent.
So then if you decide, this is a long question.
That's okay.
So then if you decide that you're going to do the cleanup, you put it out to bid, or how do people know that they could bid on cleaning up the property?
Right.
If we were, for instance, I'm going to make this up for a point of illustration.
Sure.
If the town were going to keep it, and it was in need of attention, we would put the project out to bid. We often do that. And in fact, in the run-up to this particular parcel, before we became aware of other people's interest in cleaning the property, we did put it out and get quotes for it, but they're now 8-year-old or whatever. But we do usually solicit input or proposals from area firms that are involved, like Casella, other people that do it, including United, Umnella does some of that. There's 2 or 3 companies around that do that pretty regularly.
And we would contract with them.
Yeah,
And then do you know where they take it? Where they take the debris?
they're required to, by our stipulation, they're required to take it to a legal deposition,
To a permitted landfill?
permitted landfill or transfer facility where they would then dispose of it at a permitted landfill.
And that's in the contract that you sign?
Yep.
So how does it happen that a person could take that debris and put it on their own land?
I wouldn't know that that's happened.
Pretty sure it is.
Well,
I'm pretty sure you know it too.
If I'm aware of a property that was torn down by the town that went to the company's site.
Correct. And I believe that it's not a permitted landfill. I've talked to the Department of Environmental Sciences and I've looked at the interactive map, and there is no permitted solid waste landfill on this particular site where property that belonged to the town was taken by a contractor and disposed of there.
Now, was the Was the property sold, did he?
I
try to
don't,
get-
I don't believe so.
You just
I
think the town contracted it?
contracted with the company to do the cleanup and the debris, and it could be asbestos shingles, it could be hazardous
Sure.
waste, it could be almost anything, was placed on the person's personal land and buried. So I'm wondering how you monitor
And
that.
so we haven't, to my, I wasn't, again, prepared to discuss this tonight, but the last time the town facilitated the tear down of a building on property that we had taken with a tax sale, it's probably, what, 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not aware of the situation. If Ms. Irwin wants to contact me and give me the details, we'd be certainly happy and
Look into it.
interested in looking into that.
Sure.
I will be happy to, but it is of a great concern to the neighbors.
Sure.
And it has been brought to my attention. I would have thought it might have been brought to yours, Barry.
Quite frankly, I'm at a loss, but I'm going to find out about it.
Okay,
Okay? Yes.
thank you.
Prior to me being on the board, I was asked a very similar question. So I believe I know the property that you're talking about. We got real estate, we'll talk about it later on tonight.
That's part of it. Yeah. 'Cause
Great.
I'm interested in finding it out.
Well, you need look not much farther than where you live.
Wow.
Anyway, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Yes, Bert.
I'm going to go back to Channels Mills Road. I ain't going to touch that one. Channels Mills Road, I don't know these years, but I've been told it's as much as 10 on that property with that trash sitting out there outside the building, not being cleaned up. I do understand it's personal belongings. I think
Thank you,
in order to clean it up, even though it's like that, it has to go through litigation. But the amount of time that we've had to look at that is significant. And you're ready to liquidate that property. And I would like to ask the question, how much are you going to pay somebody to take that property from you? Why? Number one, the septic system does not exist. No grandfathered status. Lot size and everything else. You can't put anything on it now.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this before. Yeah.
This is all encumbrances on that little piece of property. And its abutter, right in front of me, is the Conservation Commission. So I should think, meaning on the river frontage, okay, you go by where the houses end and then there's a spot with nothing, a garage on this side, and then that porta potty, okay? That lot, no one will be able to build on again. Can't possibly put a septic system on.
Mm-hmm.
It's within, so the shoreline protection is 250 feet.
Right.
It's within the first 50, which you can do almost nothing. So when it comes off of there, somebody's bought a pile of junk. So I'll be surprised if you can liquidate it that way. And I should think that the community, you guys, him, that work for us, would look at these things and say, wait a minute now, I'm going to sell this, but nobody can build on it again. Am I going to keep that quiet? Is that your intent?
Wouldn't that be illegal?
You know?
You got to disclose.
Well, buyer beware. But is that a way to run business? If it was cleaned up long ago, just as soon as they could, when they got by all of the personal property issues and cleaned up, it would have been less costly for this community and less of an eyesore. But because it was down there, they got away with it. I should think there would be an action plan for all buildings that are vacated like that, that something is done in a timely fashion so that the neighbors didn't have to put up with it. I mean, people are depositing trash down there now. taking their trash rather than taking it to the dump, taking it there. Why not? Nobody's looking.
You live across the street?
Kind of.
Kind of.
No, across the river.
Take
on the-
pictures.
On the other side. So I can see one side of that porta potty,
All right.
but not the other. I own property on the other side,
Yeah.
but that's, I don't live there.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't help with it.
Okay.
But- So the handling of it
Very. Okay.
is interesting, and going out from here with it is going to be interesting. Do not understand why we haven't cleaned it up, period. Put it in a truck and taken it away.
I didn't want this property to go by the wayside, to get forgotten, or I want to make sure that this property keeps moving down that notification window that Paul mentioned earlier, which is why I asked for it to be put on the agenda tonight to be discussed, because it is important. We do need to get it cleaned up. We do need to get this property moved along, because it has been about 9.5 years too long. So, whatever time it's been too long. So that's why I asked for it to be put on tonight, because it is that important that we keep this moving.
I think if you're going to sell it, you have an obligation to clean it up first, and I think you have an obligation to tell the people the encumbrances on that lot, because outside of that, you're selling a pig in a boat.
Well, we do have to, I understand we do have to disclose stuff. So, you've raised some issues that probably ought to be disclosed.
And I guess if there is somebody, and I know there is somebody that would give you $1 for it and clean it up, I should think you would take that dollar.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody else? So at this time, I ask for non-public.
Communications.
Oh, yeah. Trying to get this thing done. I do too. Board of Selectmen communications. Jeff?
I'm good.
Thank you. Jim?
Couple things. One, I want to thank Bert for his many years of time on both the planning and the zoning board. He's got a great amount of institutional knowledge and knowledge of those two systems. So I want to thank you for your time sitting on those two boards. Dedicating personal time to these boards is so important. You can't conduct town business without volunteers like yourself. So while I thank you for your time on the board, I'm also asking the public, if people want to sit on these boards, there are almost always vacancies. Virginia talked about there being some positions available on Heritage Commission, but now there's obviously a vacancy on the planning board for alternate members. So if it's a place that you want to come and try your, to start getting involved as an alternate, is a great place to be, great place to start. So thank you, and I'm also hoping that people will see that and want to serve.
Jim, can I comment?
Please.
Also one of the issues, on the zoning board, to me, it was a clear issue. It was going to be a 6-member board, and if I stepped down, somebody new could come in. I've been doing this since the 80s. Yes, there's a lot of knowledge about it, but somebody else has got to take it on somewhere. And so that was an opportunity. So if I stepped back and and then on the planning board side, there was a surveyor that was working, and he just moved to town. And so I gave that name, and he said, "Oh, you'd just love to be on the planning board." A surveyor, a licensed land surveyor. And so I gave that to Christina. And so I see that as a fill for me leaving. I see the same rationale. But I already said it. The other thing is I got a water fight, and that water's information.
Like yourself, I started out sitting on the zoning board. That was my first foray in town boards. So it's a great place to start. So I encourage people to come out and put your name in the hat to be on these boards. So that's one thing. So I next want to thank a whole group of people that have been very diligently working on the town flowers, spreading the bark mulch, cleaning up the flowers, getting those things back looking beautiful again. And as I understand, and I will not begin to recognize all the people, but I hope I get all the groups correct.
So the members from the Public Works Garage, of course, the Rec Department, Buildings and Grounds, Deb Stevens at the Tech Center and the Ag Services, the Tech Center. I know they volunteer students in time. I saw some residents that I recognized this last weekend out working in, well, it wasn't a great weekend, but they were out working, sweeping and raking up and making the flowers and spreading bark. So thank you. It's what makes our town look so beautiful. And we have an inviting downtown and Main Street because of the effort of a lot of people, a lot of groups. So I definitely want to thank those people. Last, but certainly not least, Steve Smith from WCNL has afforded this board an opportunity to have a weekly radio show. So we have accepted his invitation. So we'll be on 8:10 every Tuesday for a short period of time, just to talk about, town talk, things that have happened here on the board, things that are going on, things that we're proud of, places we're going, things that we're doing, updates for projects, things of that sort. So it's another opportunity for this board to be engaged with the public in a more transparent way, to show and talk about things that people may not be sitting through this entire meeting, that they might be able to catch that radio show. So tomorrow it's going to kick off with Barry and myself talking for a short period of time about a number of topics. So we're looking forward to that. And 8:10 tomorrow morning. And it may not always be Barry and I, but it's going to rotate through different people and different entities within the town. But we are the catalyst behind getting it started, and looking forward to that opportunity. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, that was good.
That was good.
You all set, Jeff? Do you need anything to
I
say?
think I'm all set. You sure said it all there. That was a good one. So I concur that that oftentimes people look to the government, the governing body of the town, to do everything, and then when you see those things happening outside of that, it means a lot, and for them to be acknowledged means a lot to them. And I know that they don't look for the acknowledgement, but the point that it is noticed means a lot. I mean, I noticed the flowers right away. I said, how nice is that? Because those flowers, they also require watering and maintaining, and so it's a commitment that's so beyond the
Many groups.
yeah, it's impressive. So yes, I agree with your sentiments.
Paul, you got a comment?
I forgot one thing for open forum, if you would allow me. We've had questions about water bills. We've been in a conversion to new billing and new reading equipment. It has delayed us a little bit. Bills are ready to be sent, but we didn't want them coming due at the same time as tax bills.
Tax bill.
So the water bills will be mailed on the 26th of June and due 30 days after that. But the new stuff is working finally, and we're making progress.
Thank you. Good. I have just one thing I want to let the public know. Conservation Commission, we've been doing our work in terms of looking at natural resources, and we are going to be contracting with Jeff Littleton of Moosewood Ecological to work on our natural resources inventory, so we have a better understanding of what we have for natural resources in this town. And that is also part of the master plan that will be forthcoming. So we're very happy to have done that. We appreciate what the town administration has done to help us with that process. But the commission, they're a hard-working group. They're very interested in what we have for natural resources and how we can protect our natural resources. They're out all the time looking around as to what's going on with wetlands, things of that nature. So they're working very hard. It's a pleasure for me to be on that commission, but I don't take any credit for what they've done. They've done a marvelous job. So we have that to look forward to. We'll start that as soon as we sign the contract and get it to Hunter. And they won't be paid till it's done. So. All right.
Manager, is that,
What?
does Hunter have anything?
Did you have? Yes.
No, thank you.
I know the open forum's up. I have one I'm going to get a clarification on something from earlier. It has been approved by both boards, or, because they came back to here and there were 2 meetings and they hadn't applied, and then basically the board,
I'm not sure it was okayed by the planning board. Paul?
I got a message from the vice chair of the planning board that we haven't seen it yet, they keep deferring. So it has not been approved by the planning
Good,
board.
so there's a chance. When's the next planning board meeting?
send the letter out that I put my name to.
Should be the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
Through June.
Is that helpful?
I'm just doing something that's been asked by my employer.
Well, I
You know,
appreciate it.
so
Yeah, I think you've
I
raised,
don't want to see you guys put a guillotine to it.
yeah, okay,
This
good.
is crazy.
Well, I think that gets back to what we talked about, the citizens being involved. So many things that we just can't always know.
Oh, I
So-
understand that.
But just people, but anyone coming forward and passing information along that we can help to digest, is
I'm willing
always
to
helpful.
offer you, I got 25 years from town council, fire commissioner in New York State.
Listen, we're looking, you weren't here, but we're looking for people to sit on some boards, alternates.
But
and-
see, I own property in town. I
Yeah.
have two residences. in
You said, okay, so you're not a resident.
I'm not a resident. Just
Okay.
okay.
Appreciate your input
Airport,
and,
you don't need to be a resident.
What?
Airport Advisory Board, you do not need to be a
They've actually asked me to get involved, and I am slowly, just
Yeah.
been busy.
Town manager, you have anything to contribute? Okay. So at this time, I'd ask for a vote on a non-public session, RSA 93-A:3D, real estate.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, we have to do a roll call.
Roll call.
Jeff?
Yes.
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 And I vote yes.
Can anybody staying for that?
Just Doctor.